Hello, today I wanted to talk to you about what's being called constitutional carry in Texas, and it takes effect September 1st of 2021. My initial review of it seems like they really got it right. Now, it's not true constitutional carry in the way most pro-gun folks like myself would consider, where the Second Amendment is your carry permit and there should be no restriction. So let me say that first so you understand where I'm coming from. I think that constitutional carry should be exactly that. It doesn't matter where you carry, it should only matter if you use a gun to commit a crime. But we got what we got, so let's talk about what we got. The short, simple answer is we basically have permitless carry in most places that folks could carry a gun previously if they had a carry permit. Used to be a concealed carry permit, and then it became the license to carry when we got open carry 4 years ago. You really need to read the laws that they changed. It's going to be 3005, 3006, and 3007 of the penal code. Those are the trespass statutes. Those have all been changed, so you need to read those very carefully and see whether one or the other applies to you and how they apply to you. Because those are going to cover places that you can't carry that you otherwise would be able to carry. Next, you want to look at 4602 and 4603, as those are going to be the statutes that apply to most folks. A lot of people called it like the Texas Motor Vehicle Act or whatever because it allowed carry in your vehicle, but it also allowed carry on your own property. And then, of course, it prohibited carry basically outside of those areas, as well as in those areas for certain types of people, gang members, criminals, that sort of thing. 4603 was our prohibited places for basically all firearms. 4603 were the prohibited places that you could not carry with a permit or without, and also long guns. And things like schools, voting locations, things like that were listed in 4603. 46035 has been repealed. It used to be where carry permits were not valid. And so it had a long list of places, and then there were a whole bunch of exceptions, and some places were required to put up signage and some weren't, and some were automatic and some were only if there was the signs up, and so it created a lot of confusion among folks. But that statute's been totally repealed, and parts of it have been put into 4603. So again, you want to read 4602, 4603 and make sure that you understand those. A lot of you probably have never heard of 46.15, which is the exceptions statute, and it's really an important read to understand. Section A basically says cops, judges, and prosecutors are pretty much exempt from the carry laws. So that's their authority to carry. But a lot of you are going to want to look at subsection B, because it says 4602, 4603, A14, and 4604, A1 do not apply to a person, and then number 2 says is traveling. So you want to look at that, because I know a lot of people talk about what they called the Motor Vehicle Act several years ago that allowed for people to carry while traveling, but that flat out exempts you from 4602. So you need to read that and see what you think about that. That may be a hole in the statute that they didn't intend to put. And I've said it before in prior videos, but 4602 is both kind of a right to carry statute as well as a statute that prohibits carry in certain locations or certain events. And that remains now, that it's still that way. 4615 is another right to carry statute that explains circumstances where folks can carry that they might not otherwise. So you really need to read those and understand those, and like what I'm saying is If 4602 does not apply to you, that means you can't be prosecuted for carrying in the circumstances that are prohibited there, but it's not taking away your right to carry, if that makes sense. Bottom line, I think the legislature got this right. They really examined the statutes that apply to carrying a handgun, and I think they did a good job in drafting these new changes. Do I think you should still get a carry permit? There are a lot of advantages to having the carry permit, so I do think that it is advantageous to have one, but if you don't want one now, at least you have a right to carry in a lot of locations that you didn't previously. Most folks don't understand the federal prohibitions to carrying, and even back when I went through concealed carry training, it was always just taught that you could keep a gun in the car, drive into a parking lot, whatever. Unfortunately, federal law has a much broader definition of what the premises are than what the state law does. And because of that, if you do not have a carry permit and you are carrying a weapon on you or in your vehicle, you are potentially violating the federal gun-free school zones law if you drive onto a school property. And that's different. If you have a carry permit, then you're exempted from that. The other areas that you want to avoid having a firearm on you is any kind of federal property. Even parking lots are oftentimes off limits, so you really need to be careful. If you go to the post office, the VA, any other kind of federal property, just be aware that federal law generally does not allow you to carry a gun unless you are an officer, a prosecutor, possibly a judge. So keep that in mind. Permit or no permit, federal property, including parking lots, is usually off limits to you. Hope this video was helpful. Again, if you have questions about it, let me know in the comments and I will try to answer them as best I can for you.